Have you ever wanted to be Wrestler of the Week but looked in the mirror and realised, hey, I'm not a wrestler? Hey, I'm Jack from Cultaholic.com. If you head to Cultaholic.com and click shop, you can make all your dreams come true. This is a large. I'm 5'10". It's a little bit baggy on me, but that's the way I like it. Let's get on with the list. Hey everyone, as I said, it's me, Jack from Cultaholic.com, and it's my favourite time of the week. It's time for Wrestlers of the Week, and there are just, I'm not going to waste much time, there are just so many honourable mentions. Let's take a look. Excuse me for using my notes, but there is loads of stuff. First of all, we have Becky Lynch and Nikki Cross, who made her SmackDown debut having a little wrestle against Becky Lynch. She lost, but Becky Lynch is awesome right now, so that was really good. My Skull and Flip Gordon both won tournaments recently to earn a Ring of Honor World Championship shot, but Flips was better than Mize because Flips was on a boat, Mize wasn't. El Phantasmo and Brent Banks, the Canadian, also had a fantastic match in Defiant Wrestling. A lot of people aren't familiar with Brent Banks. He's a very underrated guy. He was part of the WCPW World Cup, actually. Check him out if you can. He deserves a lot more recognition. Now, let's talk about Ultima Lucha Quattro, the season finale of Lucha Underground Season 4. This was a two-part thing. The first part was last week, and I was like, this is pretty decent, could be a pretty decent show. The second half this week, just crazy stuff happening all over the place all the time. I'll give you a brief rundown of what happened. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about some Lucha Underground spoilers, so just be careful. First of all, Jeff Cobb, his character Matanza was just killed off in Ultima Lucha, which I guess maybe suggests that he might be going to NXT soon. I don't know. We'll see about that. Phoenix has kind of become the Undertaker of Ultima Lucha, moving to 4-0 at Ultima Lucha. Obviously, the Undertaker enjoyed a big undefeated streak too. But at the same time, Mil Muertes has also kind of become the Undertaker of Lucha Underground, losing a casket match, and he's now dead. But he'll probably come back because that's how things work in wrestling. Also, some authority figure shenanigans. There was a shady limo outside, and guess who was inside it? It was bloody Stu Bennett. What's going on? I bet he's got some form of news. Maybe good news, maybe bad news. Who knows? It's probably going to be bad. Also, Dario Cuello's alive. So what does this mean? Honestly, if Ultima Lucha achieved anything, it's making me want a 5th season of Lucha Underground. I was really struggling to keep up with Lucha Underground. I was like, oh, it's losing steam. The 4th season hasn't been so good. Now, I desperately want season 5 to get the green light. I want it so badly. Give me that green light, because I'm ready to go. Let's look at number 10. Number 10 is Drew McIntyre, who's just turned into kind of like the beast of Raw. He's kind of on the up. Everyone wants him to be Universal Champion sooner or later. Maybe it's going to be later, considering the news of Brock Lesnar's contract, meaning that he might be signed until WrestleMania, maybe even beyond. But Drew is gathering momentum at a scary pace. He main evented Raw this week, taking on Kurt Angle and defeating him in, I think, a really good match, considering Kurt Angle's age and his increasing physical limitations. I thought Angle put in a great effort, but I thought that Drew was the real star here. He didn't just beat Angle, he humiliated him and beat him down in really heelish fashion. But whenever Angle came back, Drew was bumping and selling all over the place for him. It was great. The manner in which Drew won was really interesting, defeating Angle with the Olympic Slam, I nearly called it, its old name, the Angle Slam and the Ankle Lock. Marty Jannetty still can't walk. He's just a sexy Kurt. Really good stuff for Drew McIntyre. Hopefully he gets a big title shot very soon. Moving on to number 9, Chrissy J. Y2J, that's the nickname he uses, not Chrissy J, Chris Jericho. Jericho did 2 big things this week. The first was that he retained his IC championship at Power Struggle, defeating Evil, the very embodiment of evil in wrestler form, who was actually the babyface in the match. New Japan's a little bit weird. This was the main event. It was decent, it was a decent match. I think it was a tiny bit overshadowed by a couple of other matches on the card, which we might talk about later on. Ooh. But at the same time, it was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to Jericho's match at Wrestle Kingdom if he accepts it, because he's not done on Instagram. He's gone, I don't want that match, but I think it's one of them works. Not that Jericho would work us, he's never done that before, ever. He's just working us all the time. There was also the Jericho Cruise to talk about. Jericho was part of the main event, obviously teaming with the Young Bucks against Cody, Kenny, and Marty Scurll of the Bullet Club. They're not all called Skull, they're not like the Skull Brothers, although that's definitely a gimmick that's going to happen in PWG sometime, isn't it? It was a big week for Jericho, he did well, and he deserves his 2 points. Number 8, it's one of those ones where the guy that I'm talking about is actually a big loser because they lost the match, and in this case, even worse, lost the chance to seize some wrestling gold, but it was a good match. And the man is Danny Birch. Danny Birch had a match on one of 2 episodes of NXT UK this week. Is anyone a bit worried that they're starting to put out the UK episodes like 2 by 2? Almost as if they want to get it out of the way now that ITV's proven to not really be too much of a threat. I'm so worried. I'm really worried. But one of the good things about NXT UK is that it showcases some fantastic wrestling and some fantastic wrestlers, one of which is Danny Birch. Birch, as I mentioned, featured on one of the two shows, main eventing, I think the first show that went out this week, in a title match against the UK champion, Pete Dunn. Now, I've not put Pete Dunn on the list, even though he wrestled really well and stuff, but I'm starting to struggle with Pete Dunn matches just because, not his fault, but just because he's been booked so dominantly that it's really hard to invest because you kind of just know he's going to win. But often grey opponents like Ilya Dragunov at Wembley at the Progress show that I went to, or in this case Danny Birch, kind of make you forget that and kind of help you immerse yourself in the match as a contest. Birch is really, really good, and alongside his sort of frenemy, Oni Lorcan, is probably one of the most underrated guys in the WWE system right now. That tag match he had at a TakeOver once, quite recently, was superb, but I remember I couldn't give him any points because takeovers are superb from top to bottom and it's hard to squeeze everyone in. But anyway, Birch has made it onto the list for the first time this week with a great match against Pete Dunne. Check it out. Pete Dunne wins, obviously, but check it out. Check it out. Number 7, Willie Mac, or to give his Lucha Underground name, The Mac. Not to be confused with Da Mac from Germany. This is The Mac, which is the same as Da Mac, but The Mac. He's much bigger. He's a bigger dude. Willie Mac's one of those indie wrestlers that's been good for years now. He's been really good for years now, but he's starting to grab a few more headlines here and there than in previous years, which is really encouraging because he's really good. He obviously debuted on Impact recently as the mystery partner of Rich Swann at Bound for Glory, and now in Lucha Underground, which has been kind of his home, like a regular home for him over the past few seasons. He had an excellent match against Mil Muertes, which I mentioned at the start of the video, in which he killed him dead. Not literally, of course, this was a casket match, although I guess it is literal in the Lucha Underground universe, because whenever someone loses a casket match, or a death match as they call it, then they are dead and have to be resurrected like The Undertaker. Lucha Underground's just, it operates on a whole different plane, man. But, you know, you kind of knew that the Mac was going to win this match just because Mil Muertes is one of the only characters who feasibly can be reincarnated, although we don't know if he is going to be, but come on, he probably is going to be. They wouldn't just get rid of Mil Muertes. He's been the heart and soul of Lucha Underground since the beginning. They couldn't do. I'm worried now. This match was really, really cool. If you haven't seen Willie Mac or The Mac wrestle, then he's kind of like Austin, but like indie Austin. In he drinks beers, he hits stunners, he flips people off, he gets the crowd behind him. But it's not totally a rip-off. It's more of an homage because Mac also does have his own style as well. He's agile for a big guy, flying through the ropes with suicide dives and stuff. I think the real strength of his game, though, is brawling. He's great in these sort of matches, street fights, death matches, that sort of thing. He makes them fun without going over the top CZW style sort of violent, but it's still really entertaining from start to finish, and I'm delighted to have him on Wrestlers of the Week. Number 6, Pentagon Jr. or Pentel Zero Miedo, Pentel Zero M, Pentagon Dark, John from down the road, that's his name, that's his real name. It's Pentagon. So speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mentioned that Willie Mac is sort of Steve Austin in terms of style, but in terms of substance, Penta is truly the Steve Austin of Lucha Underground. He is the badass anti-hero, doesn't give a damn, does what he wants, sometimes can be quite sadistic and violent, but the crowd love him week in and week out. That's what Pentagon's role has been in Lucha Underground for a long time now, and that could be under threat because I'm going to spoil some stuff that happened. It's already aired, it's not actually spoilers, but it was shocking, so I feel like I need to give that warning. So, in the main event of Ultima Lucha Cuatro, Pentagon wrestled Marty the Moth Martinez and won back the Lucha Underground Championship. It was really violent, Marty's face was just covered in blood, it was horrible, but at the same time, it was really brilliant and compelling and excellent, hence why he's on Wrestlers of the Week. Now, why is he not higher on Wrestlers of the Week, Jack? That sounds really good, because I don't know what to make of what happened next at all. So as part of Pentagon's celebration, he was joined by Vampiro, his mentor, his enemy at one time, but, you know, the pallbearer to his Undertaker. And then Vampiro turned on him because Vampiro is evil and was probably annoyed because they didn't play his music. Then, from out of nowhere, he introduced, this is legit, he introduced Hexagon. Pentagon, Hexagon's got 6 sides, that's one more than Penta, that's 5 sides. Pentagon's in trouble, basically. Hexagon hit him with a shooting star press from the balcony. What is going on? What is going on? Hexagon, it turns out, is a AAA guy called Australian Suicide. Bit of a controversial ring name, but he's about 5'5" and is like made of springs. He's one of those high flyers who's just the next level of impossibly nimble, so looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. Now, Hexagon obviously hit that devastating maneuver, celebrated in the ring, and then bloody Jake Strong, Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, came out to the ring, cashed in his Gift of the Gods title shot, and now the new Lucha Underground champion is bloody Jack Swagger. Oh, that's an interesting development. Let's move away from this now and get to the next person because my mind cannot be blown anymore. Next up, the losing champion, Marty the Moth Martinez. I feel like I haven't given Marty enough credit. I think he's been in the honorable mentions a couple of times, but honestly, his title reign's kind of been overshadowed by other goings on in the wrestling world recently. But Marty is one of my favorite Lucha Underground wrestlers. He is an incredible heel, never afraid of looking really horrible and creepy at times, never afraid of getting violent in horrible matches. He reminds me of like Mick Foley a tiny bit, in that he's a bit of a bigger guy, takes some horrible bumps, but he's more agile than Foley is. Like, he can really fly around and keep up with the other Lucha guys as well. He's very versatile. He's a brawler, he's a sneaky, dirty heel, he's a creepy man, and also he can do a bit of high flying too. All that was on display in this match against Pentagon, and it was wonderful, and I'm sad to see his reign end, but honestly, Marty went out with a bang. I don't mind him being a kind of one of the few champions in Lucha Underground history as well, along with the likes of, you know, Ricochet or Prince Puma, Mil Muertes. There's not been that many champions, Phoenix at one point as well, but really, this is good because it branches out a little bit more. It shows that your champion of Lucha Underground doesn't necessarily have to be a masked guy or have to be someone who's a particular high flyer. It can be someone who's just more of a character-based person, like Marty the Moth Martinez. Important thing to point out, let's not confuse him with Session Moth Martina, who's a very different wrestler indeed, and scares me on a daily basis. Next up, one of the men who has dominated this very series since January, Zak Sabre Jr. Zak actually led the league table for quite a while towards the start of the year, and in second place now, he's one of the men who can realistically catch Will Ospreay as time runs out towards the end of 2018. Ospreay is, of course, sadly injured, and we wish him a full and speedy recovery. Now, at last weekend's Power Struggle event in New Japan, Zak had a match against Tetsuya Naito, and it was intense, man. Zak's a really intense guy, especially when he's a heel, as he is as a member of Suzuki Gun over in New Japan. Naito, obviously, is the very opposite of intense, but that only makes his intensity more of a surprise and more compelling when it's brought out of him in a match. I like it a lot. Zak's often renowned for his offensive ability and his technical ability and his kicks and his submissions and his ability to just tie people up in knots and pinning predicaments and all that sort of thing. But in this match, the thing I was most impressed with was his selling, because he sold Naito's limb work and his attacking of the leg and the core, and that meant that eventually when he went for the big bridge towards the end of the match, he couldn't pull it off because he was so hurt. Often Zak's stories are about what he does to the other guy and how they can overcome that. In this one, I liked how it was about what the other guy was doing to Zak and how that affected him and ultimately cost him the win. Lovely stuff. Some points for you, Zak. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, scary times. Scary man, lots of chops, lots of elbows, lots of just punches in the face, lots of kicks. That's his nickname, it's Minoru Suzuki. Suzuki and Ishii did horrible things to one another at this show, as they often do whenever they meet in the ring. And you know what? They've feuded a few times in recent memory, and each time, it's never got boring. It's been in multiple promotions as well, New Japan and Rev Pro. This match was actually for the Rev Pro Championship, which has been traded between them over the past year. Ishii is currently the champion, but Suzuki as a challenger is arguably more terrifying than even Suzuki as the champion, because he's hungrier, because he's more violent. It's worth remembering as well that Suzuki's about 50 at this point, so he's definitely in his 50s, not certain how old he is, but he's over 50 and can still get up there for the dropkick, can still go for long matches, can still sell and everything without once letting his performance slip. He's truly like a marvel. He's one of those wrestlers like Ricky Steamboat who just seems ageless. Remember when Steamboat came back and everyone lost their minds because he was excellent? Suzuki's never taken time off, and he's just consistently fantastic. I hope he's okay. He's probably quite sore a lot of the time. Suzuki ultimately lost the match actually and is not the Rev Pro champion again. Now, I sort of expected this because I don't think Rev Pro are in the business of hot-shotting their title too much, but at the same time, that doesn't take away from what a thrilling match it was. Don't want to speak too much about it now, because guess who's up next? It's Tomohiro. I've spoiled it. It's Ishii. He's number 2. So yeah, Ishii retained the title and did some great stuff in this match. Selling, no selling, hurting Suzuki, being hurt by Suzuki. It's hard to really talk about this match in terms of what happened, because honestly, it was kind of basic. They just hit each other loads. And that sounds bad. That sounds like it wouldn't be a very good match, but it was honestly thrilling to watch. It didn't get old because they don't just hit each other as if you're watching two men in a car park just have a brawl and it's all sloppy and stuff. There's a structure to this as well. There's a story. The important thing isn't just how hard they hit each other and how much of a noise it makes and how much the crowd go, whoa, which is part of it obviously, but it's not the whole thing. The whole thing also includes what they can withstand and how much, warrior spirit they show and all the rest of it. And it genuinely makes for quite compelling action. Yes, people can argue that it's unrealistic and that it's even a little bit brutal and you don't really want to see that too much in wrestling, but I think there is a place for it sometimes if they don't go overboard. And I think this match really trod that line well, and I was so impressed with Ishii once again. Every time I mention him on this list, I say that he doesn't get the credit he deserves, but maybe that's starting to change. Maybe I'm spreading the good word of Ishii. Everyone knows how good he is. I've sound really arrogant saying that. What I mean is, everyone should realise in the world, everyone, my mum, yours, my auntie, everyone should, they don't watch wrestling, but they should know about Ishii. And number one, and my wrestler of the week. Oh yeah, I'm not wearing that shirt. I changed out of it before. I'm wearing my own merch. Oh, this is embarrassing. It was meant to be my LIJ shirt. It's Naito. It's Tetsuya Naito. Naito is, for the second time, I believe, wrestler of the week. I was really torn between himself, Suzuki, Zak Sabre Jr, and Ishii because they all had really good, performances at Power Struggle. It's been a bit of a power struggle, you might say, for wrestler of the week this week. It all connects. We're in the Matrix. Naito, though, well, you could argue that Ishii versus Suzuki was better than Naito versus Zak, but for more reasons beyond just the performance in the match itself, I'm giving the edge to Naito. He's starting to really rise again, and if there's an exciting thing in wrestling, it's when Naito's got momentum behind him. Last time, before Wrestle Kingdom against Okada, it was Naito Mania. Everyone loved Naito, I was fully behind him, and when he lost that match, although I understand why they did it in terms of a storyline, he really hit a slide, and it was maybe a design slide in the booking, but it's great to see him on the up again, especially in the months building up to the next Wrestle Kingdom. So Naito obviously defeated Zak Sabre Jr. in a great match, but then at the end of the show, when Jericho was continuing his assault on Evil after the bell, Naito ran out and saved the day. And I really got a sense of, yes, this is Naito's time again. This is him on the rise again. And it seems like of anyone I could have chosen for Wrestlers of the Week, or for Wrestler of the Week, excuse me, it's Naito. He's the man with all the cards in his favour, all the people are behind. You get what I'm trying to say. Everyone wants him to win. So win. Win at Wrestle Kingdom, Naito. Beat Jericho, win. Also, there was that story that came out that I think was a joke. I don't think it was true. I think it was Naito being silly. But with him being in the news recently for turning down a WWE contract offer, like previously earlier this year, that's really made him look cool as hell to New Japan fans. He looks like a rebel. He looks like a company guy at the same time. And the joke element of the story was that he apparently met them in a cafe, the WWE representatives, and then said, I'm just going to go to the toilet. I'll think about your offer. And then snuck out the back door. I really want it to be true, but apparently it's not. I want that so badly. I want that more than anything. So there we have it. Tetsuya Naito is my wrestler of the week. Now, let's take a look at the old league table. So as we can see at the top of the table, Zak Sabre Jr. is back in second place, leapfrogging Kenny Omega, who gained no points this week. Now, that's very interesting considering Ospreay's lead at the top. Will it remain intact until the end of 2018? A little bit further down, Suzuki and Ishii are gaining points. And as we move a little bit further down as well, once we get to the bottom, I swear I'm not killing time, I promised you I'm not killing time, we can see that Pentagon has made it back onto the top 25. Congratulations, Pentagon. I believe in you. Have a little bit of a late surge towards the end of the year. Go on. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. And once again, make your dreams come true at Cultaholic.com and just click on shop. And you can, You can follow me if you want to on Twitter at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic. And also, if you want to, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to join us.